Hey, welcome to Between the Lines. We're here with Wendy Manis, and that's exciting. We're going to talk about everything we can think of. It's that one time of the year we just mishmash. What's it called when you put all this stuff in a pot?
We just make soup out of it.
No, I'm talking about when you get all the different potatoes. You throw everything in the pot. What's it called? Not hogwash, but something. You know what I'm talking about? Well, anyway, we're here. I think it's our 67th show. And we're going to talk about a lot of different things. Hodgepodge, that's what it is. Hodgepodge. So we're going to talk about a hodgepodge of things. I got my Coke. Coke ought to be paying me for something, you know. We appreciate Daniel Forster's endorsement, one of the finest attorneys in Anderson County, IB3, one of the leaders in global intelligence security, just does a great job with our country and with our local community. We appreciate Sean. We're just doing great. And Oak Ridge Utility District has done a lot to sponsor a lot of stuff to help people, and they do a great job. And so we're really appreciative of all those people and all the people that we have that do different things and make a difference for us. Welcome, Wendy. I mean, you've done my show several times. Wendy's probably going to start a new show in June. She's more popular than me, so she's going to go on. We're going to be about entertainment and food. People, that's the biggest request we have. Tell us about where we can go for live music, what's the best restaurants. And Wendy knows that since she's a professional entertainer. Lot to talk about. You see, Wendy's organized. She's got her iPad and her paper and everything, and I've got nothing. But that's okay. I've lived long enough to keep.
Yeah, but yours is here in your head.
That's scary, but I understand.
And mine is like, it's here, but it's not organized.
So Wendy works for Junior Achievement. Mm-hmm. And what's your specific title on that?
I am the BizTown Instructional Manager.
Boy, you are. That's a busy job, isn't it? They come every day, all day, don't they? Yeah. She's the BizTown. Do you do any instructions, or you just kind of facilitate?
Well, they take the books to the schools. The teachers do most of the instruction, and then I just tell them what to do once they get there.
Oh,
they do have instructions. Oh,
so they're prepped before they come to the little town and everything. Yeah. Got it. And you're a city council person from Clinton, city councilwoman. We need more women in government. I'm glad to see it. That's for sure. A lot of things going on in Clinton.
There are a lot of things going on. A lot of good things going on.
Yeah, Clinton is always. I've always felt contained communities do better because they can address like Oak Ridge and Clinton. Harder when you're addressing everything from Claxton to Norris to Norwood, and it's just a harder challenge for county people. I always thought that in government. Tell me a little bit what's going on in Clinton. Let's talk about that first.
Well, I've been there now 4 months and sitting on the city council, just finding out and learning all I can about Clinton, and we've got some fun things. I know the big topic is the pool. Like everybody wants to know when the J.C. Park pool is going to be built, and that's still up in the air.
What's going on with that? I don't follow much. Is it closed?
It's closed. It's been closed for a couple of years now, but they're renovating it because there was some issues. So
with a paintbrush or what?
No, I think it had a crack in it. And
they had to rebuild it.
Had to rebuild it, and so they're waiting on all of how that takes a long time to get all of the plans underway and approved by the government, and then they.
You're the government.
I know, but they have grants and all
that
kind
of stuff. I can see a year.
Yeah. And so, hopefully, by next summer.
That's a big service. Those people in North Clinton, and some of those people, your kids go out there, and if you don't know what the pool is, what's the best place to put it? The pool is right adjacent to the fairgrounds and all of that. And it's just you see a lot of people that use that during the day. It's pretty old before they renovated it, right?
It was, yeah, and it's going to be really nice when they finish it. It's going to be smaller than it was, but they'll have, instead of having like the little baby pool they used to have, they'll have another splash pad. And it'll be, I think they're bringing back the concession stand. They didn't have a concession stand for a while there, so.
A lot of pools got out of that in COVID. And it was a different situation. So you've been in government for 4 months, but you've lived in Clinton for 20 years.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, what's your biggest surprise so far?
The biggest surprise as far as sitting on city council?
Yeah, be honest.
So my biggest surprise, I think, is just like, how slow it all moves. It does move very slow. A lot of people think that you can, have a concern about something and it'll be taken care of that next day, and it's not. It may not be taken care of 3 months down the road. So I'm finding out just how slow things move.
I think when I went to work for county government 25 years ago, that's what I realized is that you just can't get it done in the private sector experience. It's a different kind of situation because you're representing different segments of the population, it's public scrutiny, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess in the long run, it's probably better, but it's not expedient by any imagination. Well, that's interesting. I think that's a good answer. I don't get that very often. Scott Burton's hair, that's a common answer. Hair management, I mean, I get that a lot.
He does have nice hair.
He does. That's probably why I'm jealous. I mean, but we like Scott. I mean, Scott does a good job. So tell us about the makeup. How many people on city council in Clinton?
So we have the mayor, and then we have.
But he's a city councilman too, or just a mayor?
No, he's just the mayor.
Okay.
And so, I mean, he's on there, but so I just learned this whenever I had to go through my training.
Mm-hmm.
And so, every government is made different depending on what the charter says. And so Scott's kind of like at the top, and then you have the city council people. And so there's 3 city councilmen on one side and 3 on the other. So there's 6 total, counting the vice mayor.
What happens when there's a 3-3 vote?
I don't know. I haven't experienced
Scott
that.
probably
I think
breaks that
Scott
vote.
breaks that one.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But you're on the same kind of plan Oak Ridge is. Well, not really. You're a mayoral council plan, but staffing is the same sort of. You have your Gail Cook, and then or now Chris Phillips, and then over here you have somebody else as the finance budget. So, yeah, I think it's different. I worked in Clinton obviously for 14, 15 years.
Excuse me.
That's okay. I like Clinton. Allergies are here. Bradford pears. So I liked what I saw, and I think I like, of course, Gail Cook, who was the budget director for a long time. She worked both in the county with me, and then she worked in the city. There's no equal. She's just outstanding.
Yeah.
She's really outstanding.
I've heard how amazing she is.
She used to tell me, she'd give me a card for something, and I'd go for my department, and she'd say, I want it back by 4. She was strict. She was great, though. Oh, so friendly. But always part of it. And Chris Phillips basically learned the trade under her, and I think that helps you to learn from somebody that good. So
and he's really great, too.
He's easy to work with.
Yeah.
Chris is about as laid back as it gets. What's the biggest challenges that Clinton faces at this time?
I think the biggest challenge that Clinton faces is putting the proper vision in place, because we have projects going on, but there's a lot of we've never done it this way before, and so sometimes you have to look outside the line and have a vision and kind of see the future, because Clinton's growing.
But it has to be a consent vision. I mean, you got to get enough people to buy off on it. And trust me, a woman in her 40s is not going to see anything like a man in his 70s. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
You got to sell something, because it's a different kind of situation. But you have some young people. You're starting, and Oak Ridge. We look at our judicial. I've talked about our judicial people in Anderson County. They're 45, 43, 47. And I may be a year behind at 53. That's a young group. It was in the 70s mainly before that. So we have some young minds as the people that are starting to do different things. Even David Clark's still young. I mean, he's in his 50s I guess he's been experienced for, let's see how long David's been there since 6. So David's got 17 years in there. I mean, you've got some experienced people, and those jobs make a lot.
But from what I'm understanding, though, Clinton's doing much better than it was, say, like 10 or 15 years ago when Scott first was on the council or as mayor, because they had some real financial trouble.
He's a fiscal conservative, but with all due respect to Scott, that's when Gail Cook came on.
And so, I mean, I wrote some numbers down here, but at the last audit, we had $18.7 million in the general budget. And that's $3 million up from last year, so that's pretty good. They're looking at
Is that the fund balance or the budget?
That's the general fund. Mm-hmm. And so
that's in reserve. That's how much money you save, right? Rainy day, whatever you call it.
Yeah, and so they're looking in 4 years to be debt free.
Let's talk about debt free for a second. Debt free is very honorable. Good management systems. But when you can't get your pool fixed and you can't pick up your trash and your police are underpaid, it may not be the right answer.
Right.
I mean, you gotta put people on and make them do work. And while I'm on that subject, I've looked at it nationally. I do mostly federal works in some state, but I don't do much local. But I know that we got a Social Security raise of 8% or 8.5%. Somebody else got 7. It makes no sense to me not to give our employees at least 7 or 8% or 9%. They probably deserve more than that, especially police and fire. You got to hold them. You got to keep them, or they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and you do. And we just had a workshop in Clinton for the city council, just talking about some different issues that was coming up, and they did mention that we're going to be looking at that raise for the city employees.
Got to have it. you get veteran policemen trained and firemen, and then they get away from you. I know Oak Ridge is addressing several increases in step pay. You are, your friend, my wife, has eloquently, Sabre Beauchamp, the county commissioner, has eloquently stated how competitive it is in salaries and how we need to back our sheriff's department up. And I don't think anybody disagrees with that. It's just, is that a priority for your spending? That's the question.
Right. I think it almost has to be, though,
Yeah, I do
because
too.
if you don't have the proper police force in place, your citizens are not going to be safe.
And I think it's even more important in the county because it's such a long way to go.
Right.
Now, how do you patrol New River, Claxton, Dutch Valley, and all that with a shift of only a few? You need more cars and more men, but you got to keep your people too. Jailers especially, that's a hard job.
Right.
It's a
And
hard
we
job.
just voted in Clinton just this last meeting to buy 2 new patrol cars for our
For Clinton.
policemen.
That's interesting. Well, I've always had an issue with some of what Clinton does because they were able to strip annex all the way out to the interstate and didn't take in any of the costs on the side back in the late 90s, but, mid-90s, late 90s. But that was a benefit to them. You make all the money on the retail businesses, but you don't pay for any of the infrastructure in the rural areas. It's tough. But anyway, I think Clinton's been well managed. Bone Severs was a great manager. I think we've had others. Your present staff seems to be pretty good.
Yeah.
They work with you well?
I think they work with me very well.
Yeah.
If there's something that I need to know, Roger always calls to let us
Yeah.
know.
I've known Roger a long time, and Laura. Yeah, they're just good people. I think so. And Clinton has been pretty consistent in hiring Clinton people that went to school there, that came from there. I mean, they've always had a kind of a tight-knit community there, and I think that's positive in the long run. It's a town of 10,000 people, not 100,000.
Right.
So, it's different if you're in Knox County. It's harder to defend that kind of a system.
It was really strange to me when I first moved there and they kept calling it a small town. Because, I grew
You're
up
from
with
Mississippi.
1,500 people and there's 10,000 there. That was a small town, 1,500.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you think about Knoxville or Oak Ridge to Clinton, it is a small town.
Wendy is a professional musician. She did a lot of time, her and her husband Jonathan, playing music, gospel music, other things, and you still play.
Yeah.
And so you can consider yourself a professional entertainer.
Yeah.
Is there opportunities for Clinton to do more? I mean, it just said we went through the Daugherty building for a year, which seemed like a no-brainer to me. But I hear it may be completed by December.
That's what they're hoping for.
And maybe next year they'll be able to get out and start bringing in more people to live in downtown. What's up on Market Street?
They actually have, what day is this? I'm like all lost. But on the 22nd, they'll have the Mosaic Art Festival that will support Anderson County Schools. And so that's one of the things they have down there. But they actually have a whole Main Street development group. And not only do they have the adults involved, but they've gotten local students involved. And right now, they're trying to win a $5,000 grant with ACT Prep to help better Clinton. Like, they're working hard as students to better downtown Clinton.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Wendy Manis, who's kind of the newest star in Anderson County, and talk to her some more. We're going to go back to the Aspire Project. I want to talk about South Clinton.
Okay.
And then we'll break off into other things. It's yours, Chandler.
Daniel Forrester has been recognized as one of East Tennessee's leading attorneys for nearly 2 decades. Civil disputes, criminal defense, divorces, and juvenile custody cases are all part of an impressive resume. Daniel's legal experience also includes representing clients in local, state, and federal courts. A husband and a father, Daniel is a Rule 31 certified mediator who has represented hundreds of families in Chancery Court. Call Daniel Forrester Law Office at 865-457-7900 for a free consultation.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
Hello, I'm District Attorney General Dave Clark. My fellow DAs and I successfully fought for new elder abuse laws and procedures that have police departments and agencies using improved tools to protect our seniors. Victims of elder abuse are often unable to recognize or report abuse themselves. They need your voice. If you suspect abuse, contact local law enforcement or adult protective services. Let's work together to protect our seniors.
When should you get tested for COVID-19? You have symptoms of COVID-19, such as runny nose, congestion, sore throat, fever, cough, shortness of breath, muscle pain, headache, chills, or loss of taste or smell. Current testing recommendations say everyone should get tested immediately if they have symptoms of COVID-19. If you have symptoms, be sure to follow recommendations about how long to stay home and away from others. For more information, visit our If You Are Sick or Test Positive webpage.
In East Tennessee, winter can be a wild ride of constantly changing weather and cold outdoor fun. Warm up with natural gas heat, hot water, cooking, and soft, comfy clothes. More affordable and reliable than electricity, natural gas makes homes cozy and more valuable. Whether you're a contractor or savvy homeowner, switch to natural gas for your primary energy source. Visit us online at orud.org or call today. Oak Ridge Utility District, your affordable energy source.
Welcome back. If you haven't been to Fan Gear Barn with all the old jerseys and everything, hundreds of pieces there, cards, everything, right across from Oak Ridge Hospital on the Turnpike in Security Square, Fan Gear Barn. You need to go. Okay, so we're talking about wrapping up on Clinton. Tell me about Aspire in South Clinton. That is a huge place. I mean, Joe's done a wonderful job with that. How are we at? What do we got?
So it is really big, and what a lot of people don't understand is it is not a city park. So it is completely owned by Holling. Yeah. And so I forgot how many acres it is, but it's big. Massive. Yeah. And I asked last week when that would be open because, I have to go walk somewhere else. And I'm like, I can't wait till Aspire's open so I can go walking. And they are hoping next spring. It was supposed to be this fall, but things got held up with different issues. Sure. And so they said next spring is the...
Has Clinton been as cooperative as it should have been with that project?
I think it has. I know they had some, codes is always a little bit harder when a big project is going on. So I know that they were pretty tough on them at first. And I think having the railroad there, they're having to work around some stuff. But I think as far as the city goes, it's been pretty good to them.
It reminds me of another Clinton story, and I won't go into any detail because I'm friends on all sides, but Clinton Insurance Group and Appalachian, they were all right there where they still own those buildings, and they had their huge operation there, and they wanted to expand behind McDonald's, and they blocked them and they fought them, and they just said, we're going to Oak Ridge. And now they've had that 10-story building for 10 or 15 years and hire 400 people and generate all that revenue and taxes. That's the kind of stuff you can't be short-sighted on.
Right.
You've got to embrace business. You got to do what you can and get it done. All right, so we're going to talk now a little bit about a bill that's in the Tennessee legislature. I believe that number is, you know the number by heart yet?
It's
817. Senate bill is 526. Basically what this would do, by my reading of the bill, is it would take away at-large voting. You could not, like in Oak Ridge, we vote everybody can vote on every race. It would go back to neighborhood voting. In Clinton, you wouldn't have at-large, you would have neighborhood voting. Now, Wendy and I disagree on this issue a little bit, so we'll talk a little about it. Why do you not like that bill?
Well, as far as sitting on city council, I'm supporting all of Clinton. I'm there. I have my ward that I'm in, which I do listen to, and I love being a part of Ward 3, but I'm realizing all the issues that I have to vote on affect all of Clinton.
Okay.
And so that is kind of my reasoning behind it, because if you have just this one, group that has their representation and they don't think like I do, or they don't think that you should care about the whole, I care about all of Clinton. And does that make sense?
I get your point, but that would be like Nebraska's United States senators should be voted on by South Carolina because they're voting for the whole country, and South Carolina's got a stake in that. The problem comes down to money. Here's what happened. We did it in Oak Ridge in the early 80s. I was young enough but knowledgeable enough to know what was going on. The powers that be made a structure, took away neighborhood voting, and they wanted to be able to cross. So here's the problem. if you live in Woodland and you want to be on city council, you have to have enough money to campaign to all the city.
Right.
So they could control, the powers that be could control who gets on and who gets off by how much money they put into the campaign. And this is not Oak Ridge, this is everywhere in the country they do this. My problem has been the one man, one vote. I would like to see the unique problems, take South Clinton, take Woodland, take Robertsville, there are neighborhood issues that neighborhood people can't afford to get elected to because it's a broad thing, and the big entities in the city, usually not businesses, but well, I don't know how to say it. I don't want to give names or anything, but let's just say it gets harder. Who are the big employers in the city? Not Y12 or X10. They're out of the game. They're not interested in that stuff. But there are people in the city that want certain things done, and if they can control who's on council, it's different. So I tend to think neighborhoods is a great idea. We need neighborhood votes, and I think you should have somebody from Robertsville and West Hills and somebody from Woodland and Pine Valley. I think we get 7 guys, we should have 7 districts mapped off. That's my opinion.
So then does that mean, okay, so with my Ward 3, I have South Clinton, but I also have Eagle Bend. So it's a really large area. We have 2 representatives.
Well, you'd have to go back in Clinton and redraw the lines.
Right.
South Clinton, Eagle Bend shouldn't be in South Clinton, that's my opinion, but you need to get in the neighborhoods where they can have a voice and a representation. And I think you've done a good job of that. You've had some issues with people concerned about trash and police and other things, and you've communicated with those people.
Right.
And after years on stuff, you get used to the same people and you don't do as good a job with that. But I don't know. I think that neighborhood voting empowers neighborhoods, and I think it makes a difference. The problem is you get a diverse opinion. You can't control the direction you're going. The city managers and everybody can't hold everybody in. Because typically, if you look at the city council in Oak Ridge and you go down, I would say that city council has a makeup of median income that's $20,000 to $30,000 at least over the average median income.
Right.
So if you're a senior living out, we have a few, Charlie Hensel, we have a few that are retired and do things, but some people, most of the people on there are 6-figure plus type people. I'm not sure that represents the interest of the senior citizen on Pine Valley, although I do think our council is very sensitive to everybody in Oak Ridge, and I'm sure Clinton is. I'm talking about as a diagram for the whole state. It's more, the people control the election more than the money does if you're in neighborhood voting. So I grew up with it, so I guess I'm more inclined. And it is true, though, you don't have as cohesive a picture.
Right.
It
No,
is true.
I grew up that way too, because I remember when I was first starting, I thought only Ward 3 would vote for me.
That's right, you did.
And because that's how I grew up in Mississippi as well. You had your district, and that's where you ran. But after sitting on the council and seeing, there's a lot of different opinions on city council and as any government, but I was just like, I'm representing all of Clinton and Ward 3, and there's just, I don't know how I feel about it yet, and we don't even know if it's going to pass. It's still kind of tabled until another week or so.
So they're going to vote this year on it, you think?
They're supposed to. That's what Roger
If that
said.
passes, how long before they grandfather that in? 2 years or so?
I don't know. That's a good question because charters would have to change as well. City
That
charters.
people have to go back in a minute to be legal.
Yeah, they would. It would affect 20 cities in Tennessee.
Real quick, tell me about the Green McAdoo Center.
So there is a new Smithsonian exhibit at the Green McAdoo Center, and it's all about voices and voting and democracy in America. It's going to be there through May 6th. That's really interesting.
Well, I'll be interested to see, because I'm a big supporter of Green McAdoo and our minority communities. I'll be interested to see whether the Smithsonian's pushing an agenda or not.
I'm going to actually go. I've decided.
Yeah, well, you should go. You're city council person. I would hope you would go.
Yeah.
It's a great place up there. It's just tremendous history.
And they have a lot of events up there, music and everything.
Yeah. And that's a little bit about what your expertise is, music and everything. And I'm telling you what, Southern Blues is incredible. It's got a lot going on. All right, Chandler, let's take a break and get our sponsors on the air, and we'll come back and we're going to talk about Restrict Act 686.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I know you're into it.
Daniel Forrester has been recognized as one of East Tennessee's leading attorneys for nearly 2 decades. Civil disputes, criminal defense, divorces, and juvenile custody cases are all part of an impressive resume. Daniel's legal experience also includes representing clients in local, state, and federal courts. A husband and a father, Daniel is a Rule 31 certified mediator who has represented hundreds of families in Chancery Court. Call Daniel Forrester Law Office at 865-457-7900 for a free consultation.
We should never lose sight of our health. To keep moving forward, let's not forget everything we've learned. Limit the salty food options. Make your own daily exercise routine. And always receive regular checkups. More than anything, we have learned how important these small steps can make a big difference, so we can all continue to move forward together.
In East Tennessee, winter can be a wild ride of constantly changing weather and cold outdoor fun. Warm up with natural gas heat, hot water, cooking, and soft, comfy clothes. More affordable and reliable than electricity, natural gas makes homes cozy and more valuable. Whether you're a contractor or savvy homeowner, switch to natural gas for your primary energy source. Visit us online at orud.org or call today. Oak Ridge Utility District, your affordable energy source.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Hello, I'm District Attorney General Dave Clark. My fellow DAs and I successfully fought for new elder abuse laws and procedures that have police departments and agencies using improved tools to protect our seniors. Victims of elder abuse are often unable to recognize or report abuse themselves. They need your voice. If you suspect abuse, contact local law enforcement or adult protective services. Let's work together to protect our seniors.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
Okay, we're back with Wendy Manis, and we're getting ready to talk about banning TikTok. So, boy, I tell you, a lot of my young friends, and my wife and Wendy and others, they're not on the ban TikTok page, I can tell you that. Why don't, if the Chinese are doing it and they're undermining and they're listening and it's causing problems, and we're going to get to books in a minute, IRA books. The question for you is, what's the value of it?
Okay, so let's just start at the beginning of this.
She's an expert on this stuff.
I don't research a lot of stuff, but this really concerned. I mean, I do. I do research a lot of stuff, but what I mean is
not
like
this deep.
Not this deep.
I got it.
I don't sit down and read a whole bill.
And there's America, ladies and gentlemen. She's spending most of her time researching TikTok. Go ahead.
Well, when you sit down and you read a bill, you start to understand it's deeper than what they're really telling you, and so it started out with banning TikTok. TikTok is a Chinese-owned company, but they have their data hubs here in the United States. So, like, our data is not in China, even though China owns
Well,
it.
they may not be renting an apartment in Beijing, but the people in China have access to those databases.
Well, I mean, they always have access.
My wife says all the time, I'll be on the phone talking about A, B, C, D, and I get an ad for that stuff within a couple hours.
On Facebook?
Yeah.
Facebook's American-owned.
Yeah, but I don't care what it is.
And so it all comes down to,
If they got the technology, you know the Chinese got it.
and there's an algorithm, so they can, like, pull your, if you ever watch, there is a great documentary about how much we are influenced by social media. Like, anything you search on Google, it automatically links up to your social media.
That's what she's saying.
And so if you Google, something on Amazon, or you're like, I want to buy a new dress, that's all you're going to see on Facebook. So
This seems illegal to me. I know it's not, but
it's
it seems
not illegal. So this act would
When I was a kid, it was called, it was swimming, but we would put pictures of popcorn in a movie, and you'd never see the popcorn, except you're running back halfway through the movie because you're hungry and you got butter or get a Coke, and they all want it. So every day, I want it. Same thing.
It's the same thing. But this is not just going to ban TikTok. This would give the government complete access to your phone, to your internet. It would allow them to be able to...
Whoa.
Yes, I promise it would. It would also...
I don't trust them anymore, and I trust the Chinese.
It would also give the president the power, the president alone, the power to say, okay, I don't like this country anymore, and this app is owned by this
Well,
country
they've
or
always
this
been able to do
website.
that. They can get bans on countries' products.
So
and
if
stuff.
any website, any social media app, or any app that has 1 million users, then they can say, we don't want this, it's banned. It doesn't matter what it is. They're using TikTok as an example.
Okay.
But it's not just TikTok, it's the internet. And it's kind of crazy. Like, if you think about it,
Okay.
for the government to have total control of that, it's kind of crazy.
I'm not sure they have control, even if they were allowed to have control. They can't keep up. But
That's what the bill says. That is what the bill says.
read me
It
an
says-
excerpt from the bill that says that. You got anything?
Well, you took my iPad. I'll have to look it
iPad
up.
being returned to Mississippi.
I'll have to look it up, but
Look
I
it
will.
up. Go ahead. Talk while you look. Okay.
But I can tell you it's Restrict Act S.686 bill. And I can't talk and look it up at the same time.
Okay, look it up. I'll talk.
But you're going to talk? And
I'm going to
look?
talk, and you're going to look this up in
Okay.
30 seconds.
In 30
Go.
seconds. Oh, my gosh.
Okay, so we got Facebook, which is kind of a universal middle-aged senior citizen page. Instagram, which is great for photos. I don't do the others. I mean, Brad's an expert on all the others. Our show's on everything. Our show's on all social media outlets, but
Well, Facebook was losing money.
right.
They were losing money because they were losing users to
Sure.
TikTok. There's 150 million people on TikTok, Americans on TikTok.
That's crazy.
There's 5 million American businesses that use TikTok daily. And so they actually, in 2022, started
Chinese are making money.
They started a smear campaign against TikTok,
Who did?
Meta, who owns Facebook and Instagram. They
Yes.
started a smear campaign with a
That's smart
consulting group. And then they were like smearing, talking about how bad TikTok was. And next thing you know, TikTok, they're like, we're going to ban it. And they sat down and they had a trial. And they were asking the most ridiculous questions. And for me, as a
TikTok slave?
as Gen X, listening to people who they're not.
I'm checking on Gen X. You're a little old for Gen X.
No,
Go ahead. You talk for a second.
1978 Gen X. So they're asking these questions like, if I have TikTok on my phone and I have the Wi-Fi at my house and I access the Wi-Fi, does TikTok access the Wi-Fi? And there are questions like this. Of course it accesses the Wi-Fi because you have Wi-Fi on your phone and your Wi-Fi in your house. And then they're asking, if it can take data from your eyes. And he's like, what do you mean data from your eyes? The only way it even knows where your eyes are is if you use a filter. And they were like, why do you need to use a filter? Well, TikTok has silly filters. And so
I'm lost, guys.
it puts it on your face. So there's all these questions that they're asking, and they make absolutely no sense because they're not even, they're just.
But there's not a senator up there, maybe 3 or 4 that use TikTok. I mean, they're using Facebook and some other things. And anything that has Chinese related to it, good or bad, they automatically react strongly to it.
And there's more getting on TikTok, more senators, more congressmen, and
Names?
Jeff Jackson from North Carolina
Is
on there.
he a federal? I don't know Jackson.
He's a congressman out of North Carolina.
Okay.
And it's his first term, but he sits down just like Roosevelt used to, and he gives little fireside chats.
He
and
looks
things
12.
going on.
How old is
He's
he?
very young.
He's Sabre's
He's
age.
a veteran.
That's good. Always
And,
good to be a veteran.
He actually, I heard when he was running, he got called off to duty, and his wife finished his campaign for him.
Wow, that's great.
And so, but he
There's your
sits
thing.
down.
As a TikTok constituency, okay. So some people use it. My problem is, and I'm in the business, and I don't do a lot of things well, but that's one of the things I've been fairly successful at. And I want to know how many TikTokers vote. 1 out of 10, 1 out of 15. But it doesn't cost you much to put it out there, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, but I can
I do.
probably figure that out.
I do.
You do know?
I know how many people. You take the mean group of TikTok age and the mean group of voter age are well apart.
You think so?
I know so. Facebook, right, included.
What do you think the mean age is
For what?
for TikTok?
Late 30s, probably, mid 30s.
But
A lot of kids, but probably 28, 30.
But what if this is they decide they want to get rid of Facebook after this?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have
People would have
know.
to pick up the telephone and call their neighbor and say, "How you doing, Miss Johnson? I haven't seen you since church last week." That would be terrible.
It
Let me
would
tell
be
you something.
terrible.
We
would
have a library controversy, and I'm 20 years older than you, but we have a library controversy
Yes. Yes.
over books, et cetera, et cetera. And they're talking about all the filth that's in these books, these manuals. And I can find anything on TikTok within 15 seconds is worse than those books.
Really? I've never seen
Absolutely.
anything bad on TikTok, ever. I promise you, I have on Instagram.
Oh,
I was
Lord
like,
have mercy.
I don't go to Instagram.
Saber, she needs some more help. I mean, that's no.
But that's what those
they
guys-
track you. I mean, I block it. What I do is I follow history. I follow this stuff, and even then, I'll get a pop up every once in a while, and it's not graphically bad. It just says, "Hey, you want to meet me?"
On TikTok?
I've been divorced for years. I need somebody to talk to, and that's all it is. But it's just so suggestive that I don't approve of it.
On TikTok, you do?
Yeah, any of them. It doesn't matter which one.
That's
Instagram, you can't have a conversation. I'm not going to look one up because I don't want it on my phone. But I'm saying they're on there. If you go following and your followers and stuff. I'm just saying, before we go to break, I'm just saying that we have a lot of things on social media that are not healthy. And I don't know. I guess there's value to communicating, but I wish people would spend a little more time. I look at my son who's 17 and others. 99% of their communication is on phones.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk. Now, I don't know about your daughter. Is she on phone all the time?
She does actually FaceTime her friends. They sit and talk on the phone all the time.
Yeah, there's a 1970s look at America.
Yeah, but if you want to know how social media is influencing us, The Social Dilemma on Netflix is amazing. It tells you exactly what it's meant to do, and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to divide us. And,
Sure, that's exactly what it's doing.
and it's supposed to keep you addicted.
Good.
And
So let's get rid of it.
no, let's not. I'm just kidding.
I think it's hard to get rid of anything in a free country. I think it's there. I just speak for all my friends who look at me in their 60s and look at me and some of our friends who are older and stuff, look at us and say, thank God we grew up when we did.
You know, I really am glad that there was no YouTube. There was no cameras all the time when I grew up because, oh my
way
gosh,
back
I
then.
really would
What
have
did your
gotten
daughter say
trouble.
to you the other day? Life's changed since the 50s.
She did say that.
And to be fair, you're 45 years old. You're not 70, but that's
Yeah.
part of it. Okay. So we'll take another break, Chandler. Then we'll come back and finish this up. Got a few more things we want to talk about and topics and issues for people to think about. Thank you.
Daniel Forrester has been recognized as one of East Tennessee's leading attorneys for nearly 2 decades. Civil disputes, criminal defense, divorces, and juvenile custody cases are all part of an impressive resume. Daniel's legal experience also includes representing clients in local, state, and federal courts. A husband and a father, Daniel is a Rule 31 certified mediator who has represented hundreds of families in Chancery Court. Call Daniel Forrester Law Office at 865-457-7900 for a free consultation.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
Hello, I'm District Attorney General Dave Clark. My fellow DAs and I successfully fought for new elder abuse laws and procedures that have police departments and agencies using improved tools to protect our seniors. Victims of elder abuse are often unable to recognize or report abuse themselves. They need your voice. If you suspect abuse, contact local law enforcement or adult protective services. Let's work together to protect our seniors.
When should you get tested for COVID-19? You have symptoms of COVID-19, such as runny nose, congestion, sore throat, fever, cough, shortness of breath, muscle pain, headache, chills, or loss of taste or smell. Current testing recommendations say everyone should get tested immediately if they have symptoms of COVID-19. If you have symptoms, be sure to follow recommendations about how long to stay home and away from others. For more information, visit our If You Are Sick or Test Positive webpage.
In East Tennessee, winter can be a wild ride of constantly changing weather and cold outdoor fun. Warm up with natural gas heat, hot water, cooking, and soft, comfy clothes. More affordable and reliable than electricity, natural gas makes homes cozy and more valuable. Whether you're a contractor or savvy homeowner, switch to natural gas for your primary energy source. Visit us online at orud.org or call today. Oak Ridge Utility District, your affordable energy source.
I don't even think about it. Welcome back. We're going to talk just a second about Oak Ridge, and then we're going to talk about Governor Lee in Nashville, which we won't get too much into that because there's so much on it already. You know, I want to talk about the hack at the city of Oak Ridge. You know, we found out this week that it cost $500 and something thousand to the city for the hack. Here's what I know after interviewing two people anonymously. That basically that the hack happened, and they found it the same morning that something was, employees found it wasn't running right. And so they've had to go back in and do a thorough amount of work to make sure that every file and everything's done. They've been very thorough, and the response by my friends that are in the business say it was very good, A-A. They did a great job. Should they have been prepared in advance? Probably, but who knows anymore? Everybody's getting hacked. Mm-hmm. So I give Oak Ridge a lot of credit. The $500,000, when you hear that number, $512,000, whatever, is basically been spent on new equipment to prevent this from happening again, and bringing in equipment and detectors, and also to pay people who are experts at this to come in and set everything up. So I think it's been spent wisely. I give the city of Oak Ridge credit, but it's taken a little bit too long. I mean, people were still paying electric bills by cash a week ago or 10 days ago. I don't know about now, but that's hard. But they've been very gracious and you know, in extending grace periods, extending stuff. So I think the city's trying hard to do the right thing. But, you know, we got friends and businesses and everywhere. It's everywhere. I got a letter from a healthcare company that is attached to my company. And then we see that everywhere. And then, of course, Children's Hospital, that was terrible. They had the hack maybe. When was that?
Yeah, Emily was one of that.
Yeah, so was Cal. So everybody had ever been there. Mm-hmm. But I didn't find anything happening. I don't think any compromise was there that I could find.
Now, did they steal a lot of data?
I don't know what exactly happened. I think they got personal profile information on every patient from a certain number.
I mean here in Oak Ridge.
I don't know. There's no exposure from what I understand. There was a possible exposure, but they don't think it would have been employees only. But I think that from what I hear is that there's, and all that's relative hearsay. You know, I don't have the actual documentation. But I think that they did a good job, and we don't think they got anything, but it sure disrupted the system for a while. And there's losses in that. There's losses in being able to do all of that. What a week in Nashville last week. Whew.
Pretty crazy.
I've talked to people, and you know, some of those are my clients. Some of those are people I've known 30 years, and it was a mess. It was really a mess. First, you got the shooting, which was horrible, and then you got people coming in and upset. And there was some behavior that was more than questionable by the protesters. The response by the legislature, probably a little bit of an overstep, I think. Or let me say this. I think they were within their rights to do what they did, but it wasn't the most intelligent response or the most sensitive response to a situation that had grown out of the situation. But from what I understand, they were legally allowed to do what they did, and they chose to do that. And obviously the country reacted, and people here reacted. And we'll see where it goes from here. But I thought it was interesting, Governor Lee calling for, you tell me a little bit, you've written more on Governor Lee's response. What are they called, red tags? Or?
It's called a red flag law.
Okay.
And they were really pushing him to do something with guns and the violence. And you can't ban guns.
No, well, I'm a Second Amendment person. Also a First Amendment person. They got a right to speak, right? But Second Amendment, and I don't think that's where it's at. But if I go out, and I have a, you know me, I had knee replacement between us, and I get a prescription for pain, which I didn't take very long because I don't like them. But if you take a pain prescription, and then you go to the next store and you try to get another pain prescription, by the time you get to the third store, you're flagged and in the computer and in trouble.
Right.
Why can't we do that with mental health on guns? That's my issue.
Right, and this would, if it passes, this would allow, court systems and doctors and it would allow them 72 hours to update the system before somebody could actually get a gun. So you'd have to go through extra steps.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what it is. I sympathize with a lot of people. Like if you go down my work aisle, there's probably 12 offices, and I would say 4 of them own AR-15s, and they shoot them. And they can own 10 of them. They're responsible. Clearances, everything. They're just responsible people. I think I'm with the NRA. I think you can't restrict people from buying.
Right.
It should be open, but you can restrict. You can drive, but you can't drive drunk, right?
Right.
So I think the question is, how do we keep mentally ill people from owning assault weapons, especially, and other things? And I think that's a challenge. I applaud Governor Lee for at least trying to do something.
Right.
I mean, it's just getting. Last week there was a shooting in Kentucky. There was shooting here. There was shooting 3 or 4 days in a row. We had multiple people killed.
And they did use AR-15s.
Yes.
But a lot of people don't understand an AR-15 is not an assault rifle. An AR-15
It is a single load. Yeah.
Yeah, but it can be tricked into, and it can be made into an assault rifle.
A friend of mine in
can.
government told me, Alan, you don't know what you're talking about until you see what an AR-15 can do to a child.
Yeah,
Just rip
I
them
watched that
apart.
video.
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable. So I think we're at some point in this country where we have to get along and try to make some good decisions. And what does that mean? Of course, if you're on the conservative side of the argument, today they want mental health restrictions. Tomorrow they're going to want height restrictions. And 2 weeks later they're going to want geographical restrictions. You got to shut them down when you make the deal.
Right.
You know, you can't allow the anti-Second Amendment people to put in more and more and more laws that restrict people from their rights in the Second Amendment. The flip side of that is the people on that side need to be reasonable enough to make some adjustable deals and to do some things. And it is a state law. It's not a federal law. Of course, you can't violate the right to own arms, but we just keep getting more and more, no permits, nothing concealed. And I get that, but some people don't need to have access. Some people don't need to have access to cooking gear. Never mind a gun.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of different. I don't know. I mean.
Yeah, and I think that this would be a good thing because it would go into the TBI system. The TBI would let the governor know that this has happened, and it would just
I didn't
be
grow
that
up around
extra
guns.
step.
You grew up around guns.
I did grow up around
You're
guns.
in Mississippi. You need one.
My
But,
papa. Well, we had hunter safety when I was in 8th grade.
Oh yeah, they do teach.
So they taught us about guns. We had education, how the gun worked. We learned to clean a gun. We learned to shoot a gun. But my grandfather was an avid hunter. My brother-in-law was a hunter. He has guns galore. But it's like you don't really understand how a gun works until you put it in your hand and you start shooting. I think education is also a great thing to have.
I took reserve officer training in college when I was at Middle Tennessee State, and it was very helpful in me learning more and more about guns because I just haven't been around. I probably haven't held a gun in 10 years, 15 years, and that wasn't a part of my culture growing up,
Right.
Here in Oak Ridge and different things. Not that we didn't shoot every once in a while or do something, but it was more. It was just not a part of the 70s culture, what I was used to, except for rifles. We did some rifles and hunting. I have some old Winchesters and stuff. And I think it's a part of our American heritage. I support ownership. Doesn't matter if I do or not. It's in the Constitution.
Right.
We need to follow. We also need to follow the First Amendment and let people say what they think.
Hey, so does that go back to TikTok?
What?
Would that violate the First Amendment if they start banning social media apps?
I don't know where that goes. I don't think there's any place to ban social media apps in general. You have to go one case at a time, et cetera, et cetera. But, I mean, then you come back to the question, would Adolf Hitler have been more successful with TikTok? I mean, would he got his message out quicker? I mean, how does that work? I mean, TikTok can be...
150 million people, that's a lot of people.
TikTok, it can be misused by bad people. That's my concern. But it can be used by
Anything
good. But
could be.
preachers are all over it. The Chosen's all over it. I mean, I see a lot of good in it. I don't see much bad because I don't allow myself to see the bad.
Yeah, same.
I
I have a lot of recipes I learned on TikTok, though. On social media, period. But I just mean, like, First Amendment, and when you talk about the First Amendment, there's a lot of things that can fall under that when you really start looking at it.
But at some point, it's chaos. I mean, I just don't. It's like when you start talking about freedom of religion, and then does that include atheists, agnostics, and a whole lot worse kind of religions? I mean, do they have a right to do what they want to do? I mean, I just think you have to be careful. And they do on TikTok, but I mean, I think and they do on others too, but. TikTok is, and we'll go back to Snapchat. It's kind of disappeared a little bit, but
the young kids still use that.
Yeah.
But,
well, that's because they can do things on Snapchat they can't do on other things. And I can forgive a 16, 17-year-old for misuse more than I can a 30-year-old who knows better.
Well, I can understand that too.
It's a little bit, I mean, I understand both those ages are way back, but you can relate to those. You know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. I'm just not qualified to talk on it. I just don't know enough about it. I watch it probably 30 minutes a day when I'm relaxing or something. I'll look at TikTok because it's got a little more. But I mean, the history on there is amazing. Or I do my church stuff, or I'll see some history on this stuff, and they'll promote ideas. A lot of good on there, but it's a Pandora's box in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's good and what's bad. My wife swears by it. You swear by it. I think it's very female focused. Not that men don't use it, but 90% of the people that I know that use TikTok regularly are either real young, 18 or under, or they're women, professional, or
in their 30s to 40s. Mm-hmm.
I would think so. I mean, you get that communication. See, Instagram and Facebook, I can talk directly to you. We can share. I can go to Billy Joe Bob's Facebook page or whatever. TikTok's a little different. I mean, you got stuff pouring in fast on TikTok, and they're not all your friends. You got friends follow you or whatever for you, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a lot more information on TikTok than there is on the other stuff.
Yeah, it's used as a search engine now. Like they have, if you type in, say you type in up there that you want to learn about a certain subject, you can find all kinds of videos on that subject.
Yeah, just go straight to the web and finds that stuff and gets videos in. It's pretty clever, pretty. How much criticism is allowed of the Chinese and other foreigners? I mean, do they allow stuff on there?
So I told you I used to teach the Chinese English.
I was going to skip that, but go ahead.
I mean, VIP Kid is owned by the Chinese, but I used to teach them, and so I asked them.
When you were younger, yes.
When TikTok first started during COVID, here it came over to America, and when it first started, I had some parents that wanted to find me. They could not find me from their Chinese app. They could not find me here in America. I gave them my name and everything, and the only way that we could communicate was through the app WeChat that they use in China.
Here comes my disclaimer. Wendy was teaching little kids through an American breakdown of everything, not working for the Chinese sort of directly, but Chinese kids were part of your customer base. Mm-hmm. Kids are kids.
They are.
I love kids.
They're kids. I actually watched the whole COVID thing unfold, and all the kids having to learn more from home than they were.
Oh, that's right.
Really,
Chinese
really
got
interesting.
In other places in the world, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, well, you're doing a great job. How many minutes we got left? 7. Okay, we won't go to another break. We're going to talk some more about Nashville. What do you think about let's go back to the rules. Do you think that the legislature acted hastily?
With how they treated the Tennessee 3? Is that what you're talking about? Or?
I mean, I know they acted legally. Mm-hmm. But, and there's more to the story than meets the eye. I know that too, because I know a lot of people that were there. But I don't know. You were in Mississippi, for God's sakes. 3 college workers disappeared in 1963. We never found them, right?
I wasn't born then, though.
I understand. You're off the hook on that one. But I mean, you know what racially charged tensions are, and et cetera, et cetera. Do you feel that in this situation?
I actually watched that whole thing. I watched the whole.
What'd you watch it on?
I watched
TikTok.
it on this. No, I did not watch it on TikTok. I watched it on the House website because.
Oh,
they
that's
had
excellent. Yeah, I've been on that. That's good.
And so I watched it all, and.
Because I remember you texted me and said, "This is bizarre."
It was very bizarre, and I can tell you that the way that Representative Pearson and Representative Johnson were spoken to was a little different than the way Gloria Johnson was spoken to.
Wow.
And it was quite interesting to see because while I grew up in Mississippi, I didn't ever notice any racial tensions because of the way I grew up. But I was around it, obviously. And so watching it, I realized that it's still there.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair to everybody on all sides, it doesn't matter whether you're a Buddhist family living in a Baptist town or you're a Ukrainian living. I mean, there's always going to be some stress when there's people who are different. But we need to be civil. We need to be kind. We need to be embracing. And I think if everybody had to do it over again, I think it would have been handled a little different. But
I think tensions were high.
I think so.
Very high. You had all those people outside screaming.
And there's reports of them spitting on people and doing different things. It was pretty rough.
And I think that tensions were very high, and maybe they did act too soon. I mean, I did see that video on TikTok, so a couple of videos from the House floor.
I don't know. I don't think it's really important from here. We move on. We go where we got to go. We try to make some adjustments. The question comes down to, does the legislature need to do anything to? I thought what they did Monday was ingenious. They suspended the tax on food for 3 months. I don't know which 3 months it is exactly, but let me tell you this. That is a savings to every family and senior couple out there of $400 to $600 over the next 3 months in grocery taxes, et cetera.
Gosh,
do you know does it count food in a restaurant?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
I know last time it was only in the
On groceries, yeah. But still, you go buy $300 a course, that's $30. $200 and you do it every other week or every week over 12 weeks. That's a lot of savings.
And I think if you think $30 over those weeks, then that's going to help the people of Tennessee a little bit.
And they know it is a smart business. They come back to show you. Legislature comes back to show you how well we're managed and how good a job they actually do, even if they have blurps in the screen or whatever. But I really don't blame either side. I just think that tensions got out of hand and they moved in both directions. I wish it could have been done more civilly though, and I was very impressed with Pearson.
I was really impressed with him.
I watched his Sundays. Yeah, he is a great speaker. Watching him on Sunday at church reminded me of Martin Luther King when I was a kid. I actually saw Martin Luther King one time in the Knoxville bus station in, probably mid-'60s or something when I was a little kid, because I'd taken my mother to go to bed, and he was coming through or campaigning or something or whatever in the early mid-'60s. So I saw him one time in person.
That's really kind of
That was cool. It was kind of cool. Yeah, it was cool. It wasn't a big
But you
deal.
probably didn't realize how great he was at that time.
Not at all. Not at all. We just, it was different. It was different. It was just, you knew he was popular. You knew he had his mission. As the man said to me 2 weeks ago on the show, he said, there's a lot of anger out there. And I said, do you think office business? He says, well, they shot Martin. That's right. I mean, there's a lot of anger out there. But hopefully Tennessee, I really think Tennesseans are good people. And I think we're rural and we're religious and we do good things. I don't think anybody wants to see any hatred or bigotry of any type.
No, and sometimes you have to have some strife to come together and unite.
That's a good point. And I think, but let me tell you, folks, I'm in the business. It is a polarized world. In other words, the problem you get is you stop to think about it and you say, this is kind of a tough situation here, and both sides need to sit up. And here come the Washington, D.C. politicians taking advantage of situations. And I told some people, call me, I said, look, in 3 weeks it'll be back to the same old arguments on both sides, right or wrong. And that's the problem, is that it comes back down to that. But I guess in my heart, I'm glad Pearson and Jones got back in. I think that you need debate. You need debate, even though Tennessee has a supermajority. And that's not going to change.
Right.
I think the only thing that the liberal side or the Democratic side can do nationwide to really make a difference in swings is to find a way to get younger people to vote. And I have been at this 44 years and since college, and I can tell you that I've never figured it out. I mean, and I'm probably studied it more than anybody. It's just hard. And now the young people will operate on phones. That's why they're so anxious to get phone voting, internet voting, which we know from everything else that's going on, that is a bad idea.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's bad.
I mean, if you can't get up, you have 14 days to vote, go vote.
Did you see, I believe it was Wisconsin that just had an election, and there were just all these Gen Z, which is the upcoming generation, lined up for hours to vote. So, I mean, that's a good sign that they're getting out to vote. And, I mean, that's what my kids are. They're both Gen Z. So I hope that they will follow suit and
I'll
get
check
out
up on that, but I still say it's less than 10%, 7%. It's just, they might be lined up at the University of Wisconsin, but they're not lined up in Madison, or they're not lined. I mean, so the question is, we were, Vietnam and everything we were facing, voting was something you needed to do. We were raised like that in Tennessee. Thank God for Tennessee. But I'm not sure that is a priority anymore for people. We have a dysfunctional generation raising kids, I mean, it's a different situation.
It'd be very interesting to see how that, in 10 years, how that pans out.
In 1995, I believe, folks, no homie today, I did a study on Oak Ridge City Council races. In the city of Oak Ridge, you can vote from 18 on. 3 individuals voted from 18 to 21 out of 5,000 something.
Wow.
3 people in high school or college voted. I hope it's better now.
I couldn't wait to go vote when I turned 18.
In Mississippi, it's a big deal, wasn't it?
It was a big deal, and you had to go to the courthouse, and you had to, wait 2 days to find out who won.
We're going to start, BBB is going to have a new show coming in June. We're not sure of the title yet, but Wendy will be hosting this show. We're going to focus on live music, restaurants, and other things to help you get a better grasp of what's going on in the community. We need to spend our money here. Wendy, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You'll have on human trafficking in East Tennessee. She's going to have on a special guest next week. Please join us.